Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lane Kiffin, the Ole Miss Rebels land another commitment coming out of the transfer portal, and former Houston cornerback Isaiah Hamilton, who largely was one of the more coveted cornerbacks during this spring transfer portal window. The first thing that comes to my mind about Isaiah Hamilton kind of falls in line with what we've talked about during this Ole Miss program during the offseason. That is, finding that 1%. I don't think a lot of casual college football fans realize how good this Ole Miss team was in the 2023 season. You're talking about a team that won 11-2, only losses coming on the road to the Georgia Bulldogs in Alabama. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin have spent the offseason trying to find that 1%, trying to find those wins in the margins. They've done it on the defensive line. We've talked extensively about it, but another number that if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're looking at from 2023 and saying, hey, we want to improve on that heading into 2024, that's forcing turnovers, right? This Ole Miss defense has taken massive strides under Lane Kiffin the last couple of years, but the turnovers is another opportunity for Ole Miss to kind of take that step heading into 2024. You look back at 2023, 1.3 turnovers forced per game. That was 88th in the country. You talk about winning those games against Alabama, against Georgia. I mean, all college football fans understand that turnovers play a massive role in those kind of games. You look at Isaiah Hamilton, what does he bring to this Ole Miss secondary? It's a ball-hawking cornerback that can make those game-changing plays and turnovers. 4 interceptions for Houston last year. That would have led the Ole Miss defense in 2023. Big fan of this commitment. Want to dive into Isaiah Hamilton and kind of talk about what they've done in the secondary. A lot of the emphasis and conversation has gone to what Ole Miss has done on the defensive line. We've been very adamant that they made the moves they needed to, right? Walter Nolan, Princely U. They've done a really good job in the secondary as well. Want to get into Isaiah Hamilton, talk about this secondary before we get into it. And as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and the Ole Miss fans. Y'all know I've had a blast talking this program over the last couple of months. The amount of support you guys continue to show in the comment section, that stuff, it absolutely means the world. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Isaiah Hamilton. I think the first number you got to talk about, 4 interceptions. This is a guy that gets his hands on a lot of footballs. He makes those game-changing plays. And again, Ole Miss trying to find those wins in the margins. That's what it takes to go win an SEC title, to make a run in the college football playoffs. You got to make those kind of plays. And I think a guy like Isaiah Hamilton can be one of those guys in that defensive back room that really makes those game-changing plays. You dive into the numbers a little bit more. 58 targets faced, only 38 catches given up, over 5 forced incompletions. Isaiah Hamilton is a sticky corner that finds the football, get his hands on the football often. And that's the kind of cornerback you're looking for this Ole Miss defense. And another thing that I really like about Isaiah Hamilton, kind of doing some research on him, he's a guy that has consistently gotten better from his days at the high school level, had no offers coming out of high school at the Power 5 level, goes to Texas Southern, moves up to Houston, balls out of Houston. Now he finds himself as a senior playing for this Ole Miss defense heading into 2024, a guy that has consistently gotten better from the high school ranks. And you start breaking down what this secondary looks like for Ole Miss. We talked about it. The front seven, that's a elite front seven in my mind heading into 2024. But you look at the back end too, returning guys like John Sanders, that's a good start. But the additions you made in the transfer portal, right? Guy like Trey Amos, who's probably going to be a starter for Alabama in 2024. He comes in. Brandon Turnage coming over from Tennessee. You add Yam Banks. A guy like Chris Graves, super high upside for Ole Miss heading into 2024. I start looking at the secondary with the addition of Isaiah Hamilton and say, hey, we're checking a lot of boxes in the back end of this Ole Miss defense as well. And for teams that I think can really make some noise in the college football playoffs, I look for a couple of different things. Well, I look for boxes checked. And you start on the offensive side of the football, and obviously one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the SEC, but in the country heading into 2024. You have all these weapons on the outside. You fortified that offensive line. You look at that Ole Miss offense, we don't have any question marks. That's going to be one of the more elite units, not in the SEC, but in the country. Then you look at the defense and say front seven, the pass rush, adding a guy like Princely U, who, we talk about pure pass rushers in college football. I don't think you'll find anyone better. You add a guy like Perkins, you add someone like Walter Nolan on the inside, then you look at the back end and say, loaded with talent, this Ole Miss team is seemingly checking all the boxes. I think they have an extremely strong coaching staff. This one fires me up, and it all goes back to Ole Miss trying to find that 1% heading into 2024. Forcing turnovers was one of that pieces of that 1% that you wanted to see go in the right direction. Bringing in a cornerback that had 4 interceptions last year, again, would have led this Ole Miss defense. That is certainly how you find that 1%. Really fired up about this one, fired up about this Ole Miss team. We'll cut it on that again. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.